Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Cinema Asylum podcast. I am Paul Allen. I am joined by one of my co-hosts, Matthew Walker, and we have a very special guest tonight, Mr. John D Hancock. Mr. Hancock, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. It's snowing where I am, but is it where you are? No.
It was supposed to initially, but it moved up north last minute.
We just got a lot of rain.
It got me. So.
All right. Well, we are going to jump right in. Those who listen to the podcast know me for my love of horror, so I am, of course, very excited to talk about Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Of course, I've seen this movie countless times. I thoroughly enjoy it, and it is considered one of the scariest movies of all time as well. So, whenever you were directing this, what was the process like for you to direct a movie, and did you anticipate that it would become one of the scariest movies of all time?
No. I was sent a script which was a parody of a horror picture titled "It Drinks Hippie Blood,"
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to do a parody of a horror picture, so I told the producers that if they would let me rewrite it so that it was genuinely scary rather than funny scary,
Mm-hmm.
I would do it, and they agreed, and it worked out. I mean, I was able to introduce a lot of stuff from my childhood. I mean, I grew up on a fruit farm, and it's on a fruit farm, and my father was a bass player, and the husband in it plays a double bass. And I mean, I used a lot of personal material, and I think it maybe it enabled me to give more to it than I would have had it just been more foreign to me. I mean, it was. I mean, I wasn't scared of our farm as a child, right? But evidently I was, because it seems like a child's view of a scary farm.
Right.
It was shot quickly on I think it was a 25-day schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I had very good actors. Zora, I think, is wonderful in it, and Mary Claire too.
Yes.
So we were able to get really good performances in a short period of time. I mean, Zora particularly, I think, is the making of that picture. I mean, without her, it would be much. I mean, I had seen her in Broadway shows and just admired her so much. So I was glad to have her for that part.
Absolutely. Another question I had about this, and this is a trivia item I actually found on IMDb. It says that on the first night of filming, that the crew arrived at the farmhouse location and an eerie fog rolled into the area. So did that kind of set the tone for what you filmed on the first day?
I forget what we filmed the first day. Yeah, we certainly got lucky with that first view of the farmhouse.
Right.
And I mean, it's a wonderful spooky looking building. So we shot it in Connecticut, around East Haddam and Old Lyme and Essex and Old Saybrook, that area, where the line producer Bill Bottolato had a weekend place. So he was able to guide us to some good locations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I don't know that it could have. I doubt that was the first thing. I would think that, in my memory, the first thing we shot was where she does those grave rubbings in a cemetery. But maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's my memory of the first day. But
So what
it's
was
possible
Mhm.
we did the grave scene and then moved to the house there. I mean, that could be too, because it is kind of a dusk view of the house, isn't it? Yeah.
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 So, what time of the year was this shot?
It was in the fall, and it was very cold in the water. It was in November, and we were shooting in a lake. So the actors were, and I was. I mean, I had to be in the water too. It was really cold.
Mm-hmm. We filmed my first horror film, The First Harvest, throughout last year and part of this year, and it takes place in the early fall, but we filmed it in the midst of winter. And so
Oh, really?
we had quite a few experiences out in the cold where people had to wear short sleeve shirts
I know.
in 20-degree weather. It was absolutely crazy. It was a blast to film, but we all had to huddle in one of
Little
our
tents and things. Yeah.
one of our actors had a larger vehicle that most of us could fit in, so we kind of took turns rotating in to get some heat from the car. Of course I let the actors do that more than myself, but it's just super cool to hear about the creation of honestly a movie that greatly inspired my work. Another thing that I was kind of curious about, especially from a horror perspective, what have you noticed? Like, what changes have you noticed in modern filmmaking compared to the time period which you made this movie?
Well, I think the pace has gotten faster. I mean, we've realized that people can assimilate. You don't have to let shots play as long as we thought we did at that point, or maybe the audience has been trained by music videos, or I don't know, but your pace is faster now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and on the other hand, one of the ways that you make something scary is to retard the pace. I mean, uh, when you elongate time, it makes you feel that something bad is about to happen.
It builds the tension.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, even though the pace is faster now, you still need to do that occasionally.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel like that in horror, tension is one of the most important elements to capture. Another trivia item that I found on the IMDb page is the gravestone, which we've already lightly discussed earlier. Was that a real grave?
Yes, sure. Yeah. I don't. The inscription. She tells us that frail as the leaves that shiver on the spray, like them we flourish, like them decay. I don't think. Um, I don't think we had a gravestone with that on it, but for my life, that was a very personal moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was dating Nell Cox, who later became a director, and she was the daughter of the Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky, and we were down there for the Kentucky Derby, and we were driving around rural Kentucky and stopped at an abandoned farmhouse, and there was a little graveyard there, and there was a broken tombstone, which had been Hancock, but now was Hancock with the H broken off.
Mm-hmm.
And the inscription on that was, frail as the leaves that shiver on the spray, like them we flourish, like them decay, which I thought was kind of a wonderfully gloomy inscription. So I used it in the movie. But so it was like my own. It was kind of like my own gravestone, with the H broken off.
Mm-hmm. That's actually really cool.
It is.
I like to find little inspirations like that for my work as well.
Things that, I mean, put it in. If it happened to you, put it in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
we actually just put out a short film called Finding Light in the Darkness. Now, of course, I am more known for doing horror projects, so this one is quite different. Um, but it is very much so based on real life, and I found it to be, what's the right word? Almost a cathartic experience to be able to, take real life and put it into film and, fictionalize it a little bit.
It's therapeutic.
It really is.
I agree. I mean, particularly the last couple things I've done have been very much that. I've got a new project I'm working on now about a New York detective who falls in love with a female serial killer.
Oh, wow.
But so much of it is based on things in my life. I mean, the lady in question comes and poses as a nurse to help him take care of his Alzheimer's wife. And I mean, my wife has died recently from Alzheimer's, and I've gotten to know the nurse that took care of her very well. So in a way, it's kind of, referencing that relationship in my life.
Yeah.
So, and very usefully so. I mean, I think it made it much richer.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually my co-author on the screenplay. We're going to LA next week to meet with some big wigs to try to get it on.
That'll be very cool.
Yeah,
that sounds like an amazing movie.
I love everything I just heard about that. That's amazing, and of course, my sincerest condolences as well.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, we are definitely going to keep our eyes out for that because that's right up my alley. I love anything that has to do with serial killers, and so I'm very excited to.
Kind of has like a crime thriller type sound.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of change gears a little bit here because I also saw that you have directed some episodes of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, not the original one, but the when they recreated it in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that is the version of The Twilight Zone that I have not yet watched. I'm currently rewatching it. I'm rewatching the original, and I'm going to jump into the 80s series.
And then 2019.
There's another one?
Yeah, it was a Paramount Plus original.
I did not know that one existed, so
Jordan Peele made it.
Okay. But regarding The Twilight Zone, how did you come into that project?
Well, I was in the I mean, I was between features. I was doing a episodic television to support myself, and I did some Hill Street Blues and things like that. And I was approached. My agent was approached. Did I want to do the Twilight Zones? And since I was a tremendous fan of the original Twilight Zone, yes, I did. And I enjoyed doing the very much. It was a very well-run operation. Phil DeGuerre was the showrunner, and he was really ran the organization was good. The ADs were good. The producers were good. The cameraman was good. Some of the scripts were very good. Other ones, okay. But it was enjoyable. I like doing episodic television. I like to work quickly.
Absolutely.
I don't enjoy seeing it as much as doing it, but
right.
It was great fun.
So, what episodes did you direct?
Well, probably the one that people like the most is called Portrait in Silver, and it's about the Kennedy assassination.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's definitely worth seeing. I don't know. I did 4 or 5, 6 of them. I don't remember exactly. Did one with Uta Hagen. I always admired her so much as an actress and as an acting teacher, and that was great fun too. About a librarian, I forget what it was, but it was. They were good. They weren't as good as the original, but the original had a darkness that not everybody has that sense of evil that Rod Serling did.
Sure.
You know, he was a great admirer of Let's Scare Jessica to Death. He went around to colleges recommending that people see it. And I was so flattered by that. I mean, because in a way, when I was doing that, I was very serious about that. There was something actually scary about the world. I wasn't just playing. I was really doing my nut, kind of. And I felt how wonderful to have the admiration of this guy that's what really he is doing too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, the original Twilight Zone was so revolutionary. It's one of my all-time favorite series. I really loved the different twists that they would do, and I love that we can even still today see the influence of the Twilight Zone. You know, and to kind of know that connection now between the series and Let's Scare Jessica to Death. That was actually something I wasn't aware of, that he was a fan of the movie.
Yeah.
So that's actually really cool to hear.
I feel like the Twilight Zone and Outer Limits are two shows that revolutionized TV.
They did. Yeah. It wasn't so cheery always.
Right. So another movie that I wanted to talk with you about is The Girls of Summer.
Yeah, that's my last feature. Yeah, it's about a drummer in a country music band, and I shot it locally. I mean, I've made 5 pictures where I live, Prancer, and then 4 others. So.
Mm-hmm. So this is a movie I have not yet seen it, but I do love these kinds of stories. So what can you tell me about the creation process for this movie?
Well, I was teaching film directing at Second City in Chicago, and there was an actress that Tori Titmus, who appeared in 10 or 12 of my students' shorts that they would do as class exercises. Mm-hmm. And I was so impressed with her that I got to know her and told her I wanted to do a movie with her, and we ended up working on it together. I mean, at first we wrote it together, and then she ended up writing it by herself, and I ended up directing, and she plays the lead in it. So it grew out of kind of mutual admiration with Tori and I.
Mm-hmm. I love whenever you get those connections in film. You know, I actually have had a similar connection happen where I got introduced to who is now my business partner. And initially, we were just introduced because she was trying to get out there more as an actress. And I happened to need a couple roles filled. And so we talked, and it was just an immediate click. Like it worked. And so it kind of developed into what we have now with our film company. I love hearing stories like that. It's really cool to hear.
Well, yeah, it's not. I mean, it's nice to find sources of inspiration that are close to you, rather than always trying to reach for some famous person or something. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, I certainly have enjoyed being able to, work with some of my best friends in film, and
right, yeah.
People who've become my best friends. So
yeah,
Bill
Bottolato, who was the line producer on mm-hmm. Let's Scare Jessica to Death, and then produced Weeds and produced Bang the Drum Slowly, and I mean, is really my best friend now, and we're done so much together, and that's just such a rewarding relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Um, like I said, it's just amazing that it's amazing whenever those connections do happen because it's kind of rare nowadays, especially. And whenever you're in film, um, you know, I certainly wasn't expecting that for myself. But I love to hear that. So where where can people find the Girls of Summer? Is it streaming anywhere?
Yes, it's Indie Rights is distributing it. It's on, I don't know, Hulu and on a whole bunch of streamers.
Excellent. We'll have to add that to our list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll add it to our list and we'll share it on the Facebook page for the podcast so people could check it out. We'll share the link.
You know, a shameless plug. There's a book about me called Hancock on Hancock by Michael Doyle, who's a Welshman.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are interested in all the different things I've done and the process of doing it, that's something they might. You can get it. You can buy it from Amazon.
Okay, we'll share that too.
Yeah, that would be good if you could do that on your. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's one thing.
I'm very indiscreet in it, and that kind of makes it interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always like to ask if there are, if there's anything that our guests want to promote. We always like to share that on our page. Just help the, help get attention for the product or the project. So before we get into Prancer, that is actually going to be my next question. If you have any other upcoming projects that you would like to talk about.
No, just the one. It's called A Love Story, but we're thinking of changing the title to Relentless.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about the female serial killer film that is the one I'm most excited about at the moment. But yeah, Prancer. I shot it on our family fruit farm,
Mm-hmm.
and it was such a nice experience that as I said, I've done 5 pictures here now in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a wonderful place to make a movie, and I get so much cooperation. And I feel so centered here. It really is interesting. It's good.
Yeah, I found the same thing. Truthfully, I've done quite a bit of my work at my buddy's house. Actually, Matthew, who I'm doing this interview with, we filmed quite a bit here, even parts of the first harvest. It's always so cool whenever you can find, that place that centers you, and to me it has helped bring out my creativity for the scenes that we have filmed here. But as far as Prancer goes, I grew up watching this movie every single Christmas season, multiple times. I absolutely adored it growing up. So whenever this interview got set up, I was quite excited to talk about it. And I actually, in addition to the couple of questions I have a couple of other questions that Heidi, who is my business partner for my film company, that she has asked as well. So I'll get into those in a second.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I want to know about Prancer is, what was it like to make one of the most, at least in my opinion, one of the most iconic Christmas movies? And did you know at the time that it was going to gain the attention that it did?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to do it at first. I didn't want to make a picture about a little girl and a reindeer, but my wife, Dorothy Tristan, who was also my screenwriting partner while she was alive, said, "No, it'll become a classic. The dialogue's not any good, but I'll fix the dialogue for you," and she did. So she was the one that saw that it would have enduring life. Once I realized how good the little girl was and Sam, maybe I did become hopeful. Of course I did. But the role of luck in this business it's so strong that you know it's very hard to tell what's going to work and what is going to fall by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
And cinema's gotten weird in the last few years after the pandemic. Like, even movies you thought were a sure shot aren't making money like you thought they would.
Right, exactly, sure. I mean, yeah. Or it just, something opens when there's some terrible event in the world that, makes people not want to see that. It's very, we're subject to the weather.
Yep.
Yeah. So the first question from Heidi is, what is your favorite scene that you filmed in Prancer?
Well, I happen to know because I just saw it last night. They were showing it in Three Oaks, Michigan, in the Historical Society, and I was in the same room while I was, signing autographs and things. But I kept my eye open. It's the scene where they sing "How Great Thou Art" in the church and pass candles around, and finally, a very kind of angelic little boy gives Cloris Leachman a candle, and she starts eventually to sing along with the hymn, and that's my favorite scene. Also, I like the scene where at the end with the father and the daughter, where they tell each other they love each other.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the two.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That the candle scene, like, that has always stood out to me. It's a very moving scene, and so I 1000% agree. I always like to ask too about movies if there were any funny on-set stories or any I don't know, just anything funny that happened on set.
Well, the reindeer was sufficiently difficult that the crew wanted to eat it for the wrap party. But other than that,
I can see that.
I mean, it was a nightmare with it. Well, with the children and animals and winter, I have to run, guys. I'm terribly sorry.
Okay.
Is there one more question you want to ask? And
certainly, I'll ask just one more. I'll conclude it with one of Heidi's questions. She asks, why was the father so mean to the daughter?
It's borderline, isn't it? I mean, he's almost abusive, more than an audience can. We pressed it to the edge, or Sam did. I don't know. He's got troubles in his life. He's bitter about money and losing his wife, and he feels harassed. He's a cranky guy. I mean, but it's important. You need an obstacle to this thing. I didn't want to make a sugary picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is such a sweet story. I wanted to have some counterbalance to it. So a certain kind of Rust Belt quality to the area, and the father's crankiness was along the lines of kind of desugaring a Christmas picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it adds. I do. I think, but it's close. You don't expect in a Christmas picture somebody quite that harsh.
Absolutely. I really feel it added another layer that kind of made the movie what it was, in my opinion.
Well, thank you for this. I wish I had more time, but I'm late for some people.
Yep. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this. Yep. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good rest of your night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Mr. John D. Hancock.
We want to thank Mr. Hancock for his time tonight, and we hope that you all enjoyed this interview, and we will see you for the next episode.
Yep.
And we also have one quick announcement. On December 10th, we will be interviewing Eddie Deason. So be on the lookout for the episode. That one will be dropping
December 12th.
December 12th.
We've only got we've been doing our interview separate, so you could just focus on the interview.
Yes.
Get all the information from the actors, the directors. We've only got two main episodes left this year, and then the New Year's live stream. So get excited for new stuff in the new year.
Absolutely, we got some tricks up our sleeves.
You don't want to miss it. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
We have been the Cinema Asylum Podcast. You guys were awesome. Thanks for coming out. Good night.